干货满满的讲座马上就要开始了，虽然我做了全程录像，但我怕全程录像放出来不太合适，所以我只节选其中特别重要的部分。不过事无巨细，所有的内容都会以中文或者英文的方式呈现在这个视频里。通过画面，可能你已经猜到这是要换盆。是的，做了分株换盆，其中用到很多东西是我之前所不知道的，包括药品、肥料等。分株的方式也很震撼。好，讲座正式开始。
So if you've got 2 or 3 you want to do on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday, you need to sterilise your implements that you're going to use. So I always make sure I sterilise the blade.
所有使用到的工具使用之前都要做消毒。如果处理不止1颗兰花，在下一颗开始之前，所有的工具重新做消毒。
I either use triclinium, which is used, with your painting implements, or good old sugar soap, a nice strong.
Sugar soap 也就是糖皂，我只知道是清洁用的，没想到还可以用来给工具消毒。上网查了一下，各国的糖皂成分好像不太一样。澳洲以外的花友如果想用，最好再咨询一下当地的专家。
That if you're doing multiple plants in the one go, make sure that you sterilise your tools in between, and just needs to be about 10 minutes in that solution. So, and that way you know that if there's sap or something on your tools from the previous orchid, you're not going to move it onto the next orchid.
他泡工具使用的不是纯的糖皂，讲解完之后有问过，他是加了几瓶盖到清水里。他说浓度越大当然越好，但是也不用太浓。这是他的杀菌消毒方式，我们之前用过的那些杀菌消毒方式，相信也都是可以的。意思就是要不要使用糖皂来消毒，根据自己的情况来定。这棵需要被换盆的理由是它已经长得非常满了，很多根长到外面了，但是它既有花苞又有新的花芽，正常情况应该等到花谢之后，春季再换盆。这次换盆是为了兰花展做演示，除了换盆还会分株。这一类兰花分株，他认为最好用的工具是锯子。
Standard Cymbidium like this, or a nice big rock lily, a big speciosum. I think this is probably the best tool.
他还拿出了另外一盆，说道如果像这盆这样有这么多烂的，也需要被换盆，而且最好做一下分株，这一盆可以分成2盆，每一部分都最好保持3个假鳞茎以上。不过现在不处理这盆小的，要处理这盆大的。这盆分成多少个看情况。
So I'm going to be very careful and not try and destroy these new growths. So I won't get the big weapon out at the moment. That won't even come out. Now, who's had a lot of rain at their place? Well, if you just see what came out of this, it's just wet. So, that's rotten. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. You're going to find a bit of a gap in here.
寻找一个缝隙，用锯子切开。蜘蛛有点大，只用锯子并没有切开，所以又上了斧子。
And then it'll start doing its thing. So, you're going to cut some of the old bulbs in half. Doesn't matter.
已经分成了2部分，它继续在切分。切分过程有点长，我略取一部分。
Look at the flower spikes that have been in here, or still in there. Yeah. Because what it does, it develops its flower spikes from the bulb. If I destroy the bulb, it won't. But yeah, that'll flower nice. So I've cut that nice growth in half. Sorry about that plant. But that'll be all right. So 1, 2. What did I say before? 3. Anyway, things happen.
清理根部，切掉多余的部分。
I'm trying to be quite savage because this mix is just so wet.
根部不好，所以清理的比较狠。 假鳞茎完好还会再长新根。
So I've sterilised all these, but you can see that those roots there are dead, they're rotten. So we just take the time to get them out.
清理的如此之狠，也是我之前不太敢做的，将来有机会试一试。他这样处理之后，伤口特别大特别多，看看他后面如何处理伤口。干掉的叶片也要清理一下，因为虫子喜欢藏在里面。他清理的这么干净，我在想其他兰花是不是也可以借鉴，如果根部已经很糟糕了的话，是不是可以把它们几乎都清理干净，让它重新长根呢？这段清理的过程非常长，他把稍微大一点的全部掰成了小块的，并逐块都清理干净。我把接下来的清理视频都调整到这个视频的最后面，如果您感兴趣整个清理过程，后面还会有，也就是我调整了一下顺序。接下来我们说换盆，它将用到很多东西，看看您是否知道。
And I put the sulphur all the way around it, or even a powder fungicide would do the job. And then you want a pot that's not too big, and you wouldn't put it into your normal big pot like that. Too big. You want it so it's small.
他是用硫磺粉做根部处理，但是他今天忘了带，在药店和巴宁斯都能买到。
So this is some of the Cymbidium Compost, which I'm sure you all use. Now, what I want you to do is just remember that it is compost and not bark, so it's naturally very wet and gets wet. And because we've had so much rain, what I actually do is get some of Bob's bark.
它是使用购买回来的大花蕙兰植料，再混合上一些普通的树皮混料。树皮混料包括树皮、木炭、珍珠岩。
So just come and have a look at that. I'm very happy with that. It's probably not the type of mix that you normally think about with the Cymbidium because it's so wet, and we're going to be in for a very...
按照他的说法，我的理解是，如果雨水没有这么多，可以不用混上这么多的树皮混料。据说接下来雨水还会挺多，所以他建议混上一些树皮混料，帮助排水。
So I just chuck a bit in the bottom, and then to help with the growth, just a bit of blood and bone.
他撒了一些骨血肥作为底肥，他没有使用碎石头垫盆底帮助排水增重。我的猜想是，当栽种量非常大的时候，如果使用石头垫盆底，可能会增加成本以及时间。所以我认为，虽然他没有使用，如果喜欢，我们依然可以使用碎石垫盆底。放到盆里的时候注意方向，给新的生长留出足够的空间。
So when you put it in your pot, you put that so it's up against the back, so that it can grow forward. It even looks not half bad when it's like that. So don't forget, it's had the sulphur around it. I'm going to take this out when I get it home and put the sulphur and then chuck it back in.
又将找出一个秘密武器。
Have you seen plant starter? You can get that at Bunnings or around the place. And what you can do is you just put a little bit in. Sorry? No, it's actually a plant starter that you start cuttings with and all that sort of stuff. But it gets the roots going. So normally I don't use it, but in this case where the roots are, I might sit that in there for a day, and it'll take up some of that into it and help start it off. It's up to you whether you choose to do that.
事后我咨询了一下，按这个配比使用。
So that is all I would do. I'd let that settle down now until spring, and I'd actually put a little bit of dynamic lifter around the top. It used to be a no-no to put dynamic lifter around orchids because I reckon you used to block up the holes in the pots. I use it all the time. It's great.
Would you water that in now?
No, I'll wait till spring
before you water it.
before I water it.
Really?
Yep.
Another couple of weeks?
Just leave it. If you've got a dry spot where you can put it, because it's just been so wet, the bulbs are actually full of everything that they need. And they'll say, oh, I better send down some roots. And that's what they'll do. In about a month's time, give it a bit of a spray with the fungicide if you use, just so that you've got the root system that's trying to develop, waiting for spring. You've got the bulbs which are saying, and then the leaves will then tend to suffer. So just a bit of fungicide, that will be sprayed on. And then come spring, that's when you need to give it a water. And if it's sitting under your eaves, you'll be fine. It's not going to do anything now, but when spring comes, it'll say, I'm ready to go.
关于等到春季才开始浇水，好几个人问，他很肯定的回答是的。
During the growing season, everything needs a bit of food, like we all do, and don't think, oh heck, I better feed the orchids and beautiful Cymbidiums over there, and oh, I haven't fed them for 6 months. I better give them a nice supper, and then forget about it. Yeah, you just every time you water, just have a quarter of whatever the recommended fertiliser is that you're using, and every time you water, have a little bit of that fertiliser in there.
在生长季给肥不要忽多忽少，建议每次给水添加1/4使用量的肥，即便已经放置了固体肥，也可以以这种方式给液体肥。
That's on top of your dynamic lifter.
On top of the dynamic lifter, yeah. Oh, I love it. I reckon it's great. There's, I don't know if some of you heard of Strike Pack for orchids. It's good. Yeah. It's good, and there's a whole lot of products on the market, and the roots are sensing the blood and bone that I put in there, so that's very important. Keep the plants a little bit apart, so that if an insect or the wrong thing gets onto one plant, it's not going to spread to the other. And they need that air around it as well. And I'm not a slow release fertiliser person. I've let the dynamic lifter on these sorts of plants do that. But if you use slow release fertiliser, same thing. You know, so there's quite a few of those on the market. They're a lot better now than they used to be, I believe. There was some, was it Osmocote? Yeah, Osmocote. It used to break down quite quickly, so if you had a really hot day, it'd let all the fertiliser out. So, but there are some special slow release orchid pellets as well. But I just like good old dynamic lifter, and every time you give it a water, you've got a little bit of whatever the fertiliser you use. And there are one of the things that there is a rose spray. So roses are very detrimental to black spider and all those sorts of things. That's a good product to use, and it's already mixed, so you just give it a squirt. So, no, it's a pump spray, and it's both an insecticide and a fungicide. And if it works on roses, it's going to work on this.
有人来晚了，错过了前面的，所以他又快速的把重点的一些东西重讲了一遍。
With the plant starter. Yes. Now, why I do that is there's no roots on that. It's shocking. It's yuck. All the roots, because it was rotten.
If the root is healthy, you don't cut it off, do you?
No, it's only the dead ones you cut off. Yeah, and there wasn't one live root on this plant, and I want to save it. It's a lovely orchid. So what do? I put in there, sit in there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and that bulb will absorb the plant starter. Then you take it out, so let it drain for, put it in your mix, whatever, let it drain for an hour. Then you get your sulphur powder or powder fungicide, sulphur's the best, and just cake it on as much as you can get on, so that every part that you've cut is sealed. Right, leave that for an hour, then you'd pop that up, and for later on, blood and bone. So the new bulb will come up here. That one will probably die because there's not much of a bulb left. There's a bulb there. So the new bulbs are probably going to be here and here. So what you do is you put that to one side, so the new bulbs come up there. I'll pot it up, and then I put some dynamic lifter around the top. Once I've done that, you just leave it until spring. And then you water with a quarter strength fertiliser in your watering can or whatever system you use for watering. So you're feeding every time you water. And then and then in between, give it a spray with that rose spray or whatever. You can see they get the marks on the leaves, and that stops it.
You can water straight away,
No,
or you
no,
have
spring.
for
Wait until spring,
Wait.
because there's nothing there to absorb
That's
anything.
right, yeah.
Right. So yeah.
They're not die if you don't water it.
No, because everything that keeps them alive is in there. So what you're doing is when you watering leaves of Cymbidiums does nothing. It's watering that. So the roots go right down into there. They absorb all the water and feed these things. And then that's where your flowers come from. That's where the leaves come from. Yep.
之所以分成很多小块，是为了方便清理腐烂的部分，而腐烂的部分不清理干净就栽种到盆里，容易导致进一步的腐烂，烂掉的部分不会重新变好，只能等着长新的。只要假鳞茎完好没有腐烂，就可以再长新根。所以清理掉腐烂的部分，保护好没有腐烂的假鳞茎，等待春天的到来。接下来的这些就是之前省略掉的部分，分割清理根部。为了视频不会过于长，所以以2倍速播放。这期间他也讲到一些内容，虽然没有声音，但是我把他讲到的内容都已经用中文在前面讲到了。这个演示加讲解对我启发很大，尤其是很多的肥和药，之前我不知道，后面我准备去试试。那些肥和药的名字在他讲到的时候，我有把名字写在字幕里。如果您也感兴趣，想试试，将来我们在留言里交流使用心得。我家里那几盆大花蕙兰，如果看到这个视频，不知道是会高兴还是会瑟瑟发抖，因为我已经跃跃欲试，准备等它们花谢了，春天到来的时候，逐棵进行清理。好，今天的视频就到这儿了，希望您能有所收获。我是收获颇多呀。